welcome back to OT Sports. Today we got our Week 6 Power 40 college basketball rankings. Very excited for this. We had plenty of great games and matchups to cover. And yeah, we got a lot of movement in the top 40. If you're new around here, make sure you subscribe to the channel. We got loads of content. College basketball every Monday, college football every Tuesday, NFL every Wednesday, and NBA every Thursday. So make sure you subscribe if you're new to make sure that you don't miss out on any of these videos. But yeah, I think that's all I got. One more thing, as always, my X and Discord are linked in the description. You can follow that. You can join that. Whatever you'd like to do. But yeah, let's just hop right into the top 40. So starting at number 40, we got UCLA. I still have UCLA in the top 40, but I'm telling you, they are this close to dropping out. They're now at 5-3, which is very tough. They just lost to Villanova. But I mean, you look at their games; they have a 2-point loss to Marquette and a 4-point loss to Gonzaga, and then on the road a 9-point loss against Villanova. This week they got a game against Ohio State. That's going to be a fun one to watch. I'm interested to see who comes out on top there. But yeah, I mean, for UCLA, they got to get the offense going. The defense has been great, but the offense just hasn't really been there. So they gotta continue to get better. And I mean, yeah, they gotta score more points than 56. They held Villanova to 65, but they just couldn't get the offense going. Villanova is at 7-4. They did lose this past week to Kansas State in overtime, but they got a nice win against UCLA, so I didn't knock them too much. They have kind of a while off. They don't play again for like a week, so they're gonna have some time. For them, they're kind of sitting at pretty good for offense and defense. They just got to get it together against some of these bad teams. I mean, you can't be losing to Drexel and St. Joseph's. I will say though, St. Joseph's is actually a very good team. If it wasn't for their losses to Texas A&M I don't know what that means. They would be sitting at 8-2 with a win over they handed Princeton their first loss, and also their only other losses to Kentucky in overtime. So St. Joseph's actually isn't a bad team, but Villanova, man, you can't be losing to Penn, you can't be losing to Drexel. Those are just not good losses. But when you look at everything else, they have looked pretty good. They're kind of a inconsistent team. Providence at 38 this week. They played against Oklahoma and kind of got blown out, but they did get a nice win against Brown, 20-point win. Yeah, it was on the road. Oklahoma's a really good team. So I did knock them down a little, but they're still 8-2. I mean, you gotta. I mean, and they're kind of similar with UCLA. They gotta get the offense going. The offense has been very bad, but the defense has been elite. They have the number 16 ranked defense as of right now, but the offense is 111th. So they gotta get the offense going. Kansas State I have right above them. Kansas State did get back into the top 40. They're kind of a team sitting around this range. They have been for a lot of this season. They're 8-2. They just beat Villanova in overtime, so that was enough for me to put them back in here. They still have a win over Providence. Their only losses is first game of the year to USC and then an 8-point loss to Miami. So I think they're a very good team. They do have a pretty good test against 8-2 Nebraska. Nebraska just took down Michigan State, so that will be something to watch. Arkansas at 36. Arkansas drops once again. They did lose to Oklahoma on the road. So Oklahoma's, as you can see, they picked up a lot of wins in this range. And I mean, you look at Arkansas, they're 6-4, but all their losses are, except for UNC Greensboro, but they lost to Memphis. They have a loss to UNC, and now one to Oklahoma. Those are all teams that are very close to the top 25. You can see Memphis up there. We'll get to them in a minute. But they do have a win over Duke. They have looked pretty good in the games they've lost. They lost to Memphis by 5, UNC by 15, but that was a very close game. And then Oklahoma, that was another pretty close game. So Arkansas, I do think is a really good team. They just have had a pretty tough schedule. TCU is 7-1. They just lost their first game against Clemson, so I did have to knock them a little. But it was a pretty close game. They only lost by 8. Looking at TCU, they got to get the offense going a little. A lot of the teams in this range having struggles on the offensive side of the ball. So yeah, same kind of story for TCU. Utah just picked up a pretty big win against BYU this weekend. They won at home by 4 points. That was a pretty big win for them. They're now 7-2. This is a pretty good team. One of their losses is to Houston by 10, and the other one St. John's. I don't really know how good St. John's has been. They're 6-3, so I guess they've been doing pretty decent. Good for them. But yeah, I mean, they have a win over St. Mary's. St. Mary's was ranked at one point. St. Mary's did just beat Colorado State. They're 5-5 though, so they have been struggling a little. And yeah, Utah just took down BYU, who is top 15 team. So Utah is winning a lot of games, and yeah, they've been looking pretty good. I got them all the way up at 34. They have they gotta get the defense going. They gotta get the defense a little bit better. They have been struggling a little, but it's not bad. The offense has been very good for them. Iowa State is the exact opposite. The defense has been phenomenal for them. They're 8-2 now. They just picked up a win against Iowa in a rivalry game. That was pretty big. And I mean, yeah, for Iowa State, they have a top 6 defense, but the offense is outside of the top 50. So they got to get the offense up to par. But I mean, the offense hasn't even been that bad, and I think they should finish out December with a 11-2 record heading into Big 12 play. Yeah, they should be set up pretty well. Their January schedule is all very tough games besides Oklahoma State. I mean, all of their games in January are against teams I have ranked inside the top 40 besides Oklahoma State. So they're going to have quite a tough schedule heading forward if they want to continue to win. They're going to have to get the offense going. Ohio State falls out of the top 25 to 32. They did just lose to Penn State by 3 on the road. Big Ten road games are always going to be hard to win, but I still do think Ohio State is a very, very good team. The offense has been really good for them. They have the number 14 offense, but they got to lock in on defense a little more. They got to, get some stops. But yeah, like I said, the offense has been very good. They only have a couple. I mean, really, all their games are over 70. At the very least, they have most of their games above 80. So the offense has been very good for them, but the defense is kind of what's hurting them. They're going against UCLA this coming weekend. So UCLA has a very good defense, but not a great offense. So maybe that's a good matchup there for them. I don't really know. I do expect Ohio State to win because I just think they're the better team. But Alabama at 31, they are similar to Ohio State except to a more extreme. Alabama has the number 1 offense right now. The offense is rolling, but the defense is number 86. They probably could have beaten Purdue. They had the game. I mean, they were right there in the game the whole time. Purdue did pull away late, and they win 92-86. But, yeah, I mean, Alabama's right there the whole time. They showed that they were a very competitive team. This week, they got a game against Creighton on the road. That's going to be tough, but I think there's a world they can win that. Creighton is a more well-rounded team than them, but if Alabama's offense gets going, they're tough to stop. And then next week, they have a road game against Arizona, so that's going to be a pretty tough one. So we're really going to see Alabama continue to play a tough schedule. We'll see how many of those turn into wins for them. Auburn is a team I have pretty high up, but if you look at the stats, they're top 20 in offense and defense. The Ken Pop really likes them. They have the bad loss on the road against App State, but besides that, their only other losses on the road against Baylor, which they lost by 6 points, which they were winning for most of the game. First game of the year, I will mention. Um, and Baylor's undefeated right now, so it's not on the road. First game of the year by 6 to a top 6 team. Uh, if you don't look at the App State loss, I think Auburn could potentially be in the top 20, maybe top 15. They just went out and dominated Indiana, and they have a pretty easy schedule moving forward. They think they should exit December with a nice 10-2 record entering SEC play at the start of January. Yeah, Auburn's been really impressive. I bumped them up quite a bit. The numbers really like Auburn. 29, I got Miami. They took another loss, but I didn't bump them. I think I bumped them a little too low. In last week's, I was not impressed with the loss to Kentucky, but it was on the road. But this one, they just get blown out by Colorado. That was not a good look. And they got blown out. I mean, that's really all I can say. I really don't know how good this Miami team is, if I'm being honest. I mean, yeah, I really can't tell if they're a good team. I mean, the defense has been atrocious for them, and the offense really hasn't been good enough, in my opinion, to make up for it. I don't really like Miami, if I'm being honest. Uh, Texas A&M at 28. They just picked up another loss. Also, they're now 7-3. This was a close game against Memphis, but man, Memphis. It was Texas A&M was at home too, and so they take their third loss now. They have losses to FAU, Virginia, and Memphis. All pretty good teams. They do have some nice wins. They have a win over Ohio State. They have a win over Iowa State. Um, but they got a game against Houston coming up on the road. That's going to be a real test for them. I don't know if I can see them winning that. Houston has been very good, but Texas A&M's offense has been top 10. They just got to figure out how to get some stops on the defensive end. But looking at Houston, they have one of the best defenses and a very good offense. So Houston matches up pretty good against A&M. I think Houston's defense will be able to slow down A&M. It is also in Houston. Memphis just walked into Texas A&M and beat them. Like I said, Memphis is now 7-2, a very promising record. Their only losses are to Ole Miss, who's undefeated, and Villanova. So two top 40 teams. But yeah, they also have some pretty nice wins. They beat Arkansas. Like I mentioned, they beat Texas A&M. So this is a very good team, and they got a game against Clemson coming up at home. This one's going to be very interesting. Clemson is undefeated. Memphis is at home, though. I think they potentially can win this one, if I'm being honest. I feel like Clemson's kind of been getting a little bit lucky, kind of skidding by. Memphis, I feel like they got to get a little bit more going on offense, but the defense, the offense and defense are both inside the top 45. I feel like they just gotta really explode, or maybe play into some. They gotta play into their strengths. They gotta find their strengths, is what I'm trying to say. James Madison is slowly creeping up into the top 25. I've kind of been lower on them, but they are undefeated. I can't just ignore that forever. They do have the win on the road against Michigan State, but that win is slowly getting worse and worse. Michigan State now 4-5 and outside of the top 40. So James Madison, they are undefeated, but who have they played? Nobody really. So it's pretty tough. I mean, the defense has been really bad for them, and the offense isn't even top 40. So I don't know about James Madison, how legit they are, but they are undefeated. I gotta recognize that. Moving into the top 25, I got Colorado back inside the top 25. they just picked up a huge win against Miami. They dominated. They looked very good, and their offense and defense are both inside of the top 26. They have a very solid team, and this is kind of the team I was expecting to see from the start. I think I had them as high as 15 at one point in these rankings, and yeah, they're back inside the top 25. Good for them. They played very good against Miami, and yeah, they continue to impress me. They had a little bit of a rocky start with losses to Florida State and Colorado State, who is a very good team, but they did just pick up a nice win against Miami. Ole Miss, I have at 24. They are undefeated. They have a win over Memphis, so it's not like they've been playing absolute nobodies. But when you really look at it, that's really their only game they're kind of clinging on to at this point. I mean, they're not necessarily high in KenPom. I'm looking for them right now, and I don't see them. So, I probably just missed them or something. But yeah, Ole Miss. I mean, you got to recognize they are undefeated. So I'm not gonna just ignore the fact they do have a pretty good win against Memphis. So I'm gonna put them at 24, but they have been having quite a few very close games. I mean, looking at their team, 10-point win over Alabama State, 11-point win against Eastern Washington, 1-point win against Detroit Mercy, 3-point win against Sam Houston, 1-point win against Temple, 3-point win against Memphis, 9-point win against Mount St. Mary's, 2-point win against UCF. They've been very close. Chris Beard is doing a great job in these close games, but I think they might be in for a rude awakening at the start of SEC play. I feel like we could see an LSU. I don't remember if that was last year, but LSU was like 11-0 heading into SEC play, and they got dominated. I feel like that might happen here with Ole Miss, but we will see. Northwestern at 23, they continue to win, coming off the huge win against Purdue. They dominate Detroit Mercy, and they take care of business, so they're moving up just a few spots. Texas, man, I don't know what to think about them. I said it. They have a chance to prove, and they got dominated. 21-point loss against Marquette. Not a great look. And the offense and defense, nothing's really standing out about this team. They don't have a big win. The stats don't really favor them too well. They have some close wins that against bad teams. They've only played two good teams in UConn and Marquette, and both of those games they didn't look necessarily good in. I mean, UConn was in control of the game the whole time. I know it was only a 10-point win, but 10 points is 10 points. And then the Marquette game, they really, I mean, I guess the Marquette game at least they were closer for a little bit longer, but Marquette pulled away at the end of the second half and just never looked back. I don't know. This Texas team is worrying me. They're just really I don't know. I can't figure them out. Virginia at 21, they are 8-1. Their only loss coming to Wisconsin. So I mean, they have, and it's not like they've been playing nobodies. I mean, they have a win over Florida. Florida is a team I almost put in my top 40. They have a win over West Virginia, who in a rivalry game. So that's something, I guess. They have a win over Texas A&M. Virginia's been doing pretty good. Only one loss, and yeah, the defense as always has been very good. If they can get some more out of the offense, they could be a scary team in the ACC there. Wisconsin at 20, they just got blown out by Arizona, but that's the number one team, and they did just go on the road against a Michigan State team who's hungry for a win. Big Ten road games are always tough. Michigan State, I still believe, is a good team, and they won by 13. Very impressive. They did go on the road and get blown out, but that again is the number one team. I really like this Wisconsin team. I got them at 20. Duke moving up a couple spots. They just beat Charlotte. Nothing too special. They kind of just moved up because others were dropping down. BYU dropped a game on the road against Utah, but when you look at the numbers, they really like BYU. BYU is a top 16 offense and a top 11 defense. I'm not too worried about BYU, but once Big 12 play starts, I could see something similar to Ole Miss happening, like I was saying earlier. Colorado State loses their first game this weekend against St. Mary's in a home game. Not a great loss. You don't want to lose that one. St. Mary's hasn't been great, but if Colorado can figure things out on defense, they are going to be in real good shape. They have the number 9 offense, but the defense is number 96. So that's they gotta, if they can figure out things on the defensive end, they could be scary. FAU at 16, they lost another game against Illinois. Although I will say, that was a tough game to win. And Illinois is a really good team. FAU's only other losses are Bryant, and they have some nice wins against Texas A&M. That's a pretty good win, but Charleston's usually a pretty good Group of 5 team, and yeah, I mean they took down earlier in the year they took down Butler, who is 8-2. So there's that. They also have a win over Liberty, who was undefeated at one point. I don't know how they're looking now, but I still think FAU is a pretty good team. I mean, they're number 6 in offense. The defense is lacking a little bit. Kentucky at 15, kind of similar to Duke. It's not really that they did anything too special, just kind of other teams moving down. They moved up. Kentucky took care of business. I mean, pretty much the same as Duke. Both of them played not great teams, but they took care of business. They did what they needed to do. Kentucky, kind of similar to FAU. If they can figure things out on defense a little more, they could be very scary. Illinois just took down FAU. They're moving up. I know they did just lose to Tennessee on the road. That's a tough game. They were in it the whole time. But yeah, Illinois has some pretty good wins. Their only losses are to Marquette and Tennessee, who are both inside my top 10, as you can see. And they have some nice wins. FAU is a pretty good win. Rutgers, Illinois. In the games they lost were both close. I think Illinois is a really good team. I have them all the way up at 14. Number 13, I got Clemson. I don't know about Clemson just yet. They are undefeated, but they have been skidding by a little bit. They've been getting a little, I don't want to say lucky, but maybe a little. They have a lot of close games when you look at it, but they are 9-0. They did just beat TCU and South Carolina, both who were undefeated at the time when they played. They're going to have to go on the road against Memphis. That's going to be a tough one for them. I'm interested to see how that game plays out. But yeah, Clemson, number 27 offense, number 32 defense. Nothing's really standing out, but nothing is really lagging behind either. Oklahoma at 12, the defense is looking great, and the offense has been pretty serviceable. If they can get just a bit more out of the offense, I think Oklahoma could be a very scary team. Their only game this week is against Green Bay at home. I don't really see a world where they lose that. If they were to lose that, that would be pretty sad. Gonzaga did just lose one, so I had to drop them down a little bit. It was on the road against Washington. Washington is actually a pretty decent team. They're 6-3, but I don't think Gonzaga should be losing that game. But they do have a top 20 offense and defense. I didn't drop them too far. But now moving in to the top 10, I got Tennessee moving up. I know they have 3 losses. I know that. But hey, when you look at their losses, I mean, just look at this. 4-point loss to Purdue, who I have at 3. 9-point loss to Kansas, who I have at 2. It's a close loss. And an 8-point loss to UNC, who I have at 9. Now you look at some of their wins. They have a win over Illinois, who is number 14. They have a win on the road against Wisconsin, who is inside the top 20. So they are 2-3. They're 0-3 against top 10 teams, but they are 2-3 against top 20 teams. And I mean, yeah, this Tennessee team is really good. I don't know how else to put it. The defense is top 5. If they're just a little bit more out of the offense, could really just change the whole landscape for Tennessee. I mean, they have the potential to be a very scary team to play. I got them at 10. UNC lost one against UConn. UConn looked really good in that one, so I'm not gonna blame UNC. Their only other loss is to Villanova in overtime, but they, like I said, they have a win over Tennessee, who I'm very high on, win over Arkansas, and a win, or sorry, that and their other loss to UConn, like I already mentioned. And yeah, UConn looked really good in that game, but UNC, man, they've been looking very scared too. The offense, if the defense can just get a little bit more out of the defense, they like I said, they have the potential to make a very deep run this season. This is kind of the UNC team I was expecting to see last year. So I mean, I guess Caleb Love leaving was a good thing, but I'm glad to see they finally figured it out. Creighton at 8-1. Their only loss was to Colorado State in a game where both sides of the ball just looked bad. But besides that, number 11 offense, number 8 defense. Creighton's a very good team. They're gonna have home game against Alabama. I think they should win, but Alabama could give them some troubles. Baylor at 7. Baylor's undefeated. The offense is looking amazing for Baylor. The defense is lagging behind a little bit, which is weird. Usually Baylor has a really good defense, but nonetheless, I mean, the offense has been phenomenal for Baylor. They're number 2 right now. And yeah, they're undefeated, and which is crazy. They're undefeated. I have them all the way down at 7, but that just goes to show how deep this season is. And yeah, I mean, really right now, you look at the top 7 teams, I feel like these have to be the title favorites as of right now. Baylor undefeated with the number 2 offense. I feel like I mean, you gotta respect them. And Marquette, I was considering moving all the way up to 3. That might be crazy to say, but I almost did it. I did pump the brakes a little bit, but Marquette has number 10 offense, number 10 defense. They're a very well-rounded team, which is insane to say because I was not expecting this from their defense, but the defense has been lights out. They just picked up a huge win against Texas. I know they have 2 losses, which, I guess UNC and Tennessee have 2 and 3 losses, but when you look at the top 8 teams and above, it's only 1 loss. Marquette does have 2 losses, but the stats like them. You look at the resume. I mean, the resume is just amazing. They have a win over Illinois. They have a win over Kansas. They have a 3-point loss to Purdue, and a 11-point road loss to Wisconsin, who I've ranked at 20 in a rivalry game, and another win over Texas. I mean, they are just really. I mean, they have had a gauntlet of a schedule, and they continue to win. They also have a win over UCLA, which I forgot to mention. So that puts them at a 4-2 record against top 40 teams. So yeah, I mean, Marquette has been very good, and yeah, I considered moving them all the way up to to 3. But I did keep them at 6. UConn, I did keep at 5. They have been very good. Top 5 offense, top 20 defense. I mean, they lost by 4 on the road against number 2 Kansas. They just dominated North Carolina. I don't want to say dominated, but they did win by 11. UConn's looking very good, but they have a game against Gonzaga on the road. This is going to be it's a far travel. It's a night game. I could very well see Gonzaga coming out on top, but if UConn were to win this game, they have the potential to move up in these rankings. UConn has been very good so far. Houston has the number 1 defense, but the resume just isn't there. I know they're undefeated. The offense is top 20 as well, but the resume is just kind of what's making me a little worried for them. I do have them at 4 still, but um, I don't know. They just haven't played anyone really good. Purdue has the number 3 offense and the number 9 defense. They obviously have Zach Edey, and the guards are continuing to get better and better. Only loss on the road against Northwestern, who I have ranked 23. They just picked up a big win against Alabama. That's a tough team, but they play Arizona at home this week. That is going to be a phenomenal game, and I'm telling you right now, whoever wins that will probably be number 1. Man, if Arizona were to win that game, they are just, I mean, they just. We'll skip over Kansas real quick. Talk about Arizona. Looking at Arizona, I mean, number 5 offense and number 2 defense, top 5 in both. I mean, they got to be the national title favorite. I mean, they have to. I mean, look at their stats, top 5 in offense and defense, and you look at their resume. They have a road win against Duke. They have a win over Michigan State. They have a dominating win over Wisconsin, and they have the potential to get a win against Purdue on the road. And then next week they have Alabama and FAU, so that's potential to pick up a bunch more huge wins for them, and they're top 5 in both. And then number 2, I have Kansas. Kansas, the offense hasn't even been that good, and they're continuing to win and dominate. The offense needs to step it up for them. I'm not ready to say that they are they are obviously a contender, but I'm not ready to say they're a number 1 team just because the offense hasn't been what I've expected. Their only loss is to Marquette, but they didn't look good in that game. The offense, they only put up 59 points. I will say for Kansas, however, the defense has been lights out. I mean, the most points they've given up all season was 84 to Kentucky, and 73 to Marquette. But besides that, they haven't had a team score over. I mean, no team has barely scored. No, besides those 2 games, no team scored over 70 points on them, and a couple of them they haven't even scored 60. So I will say the defense for Kansas has been very good. Number 7 overall, but you know the statistics. When you look at KenPom, they haven't been as great as you might think. The resume for Kansas, however, they have a win over Kentucky. They have a win over Tennessee. Only lost to Marquette. They also have a win over UConn. So the resume is there, but the KenPom ratings are a little bit behind, which does worry me a little. But you know, obviously not too worried. I think Kansas. I think the defense will, or not the defense, the offense will pick it up as they continue to adjust to Hunter Dickinson getting there. He has been great defensively and offensively. He could potentially win National Player of the Year, but you know, you do have Zach Edey there as well. So yeah, that's that. I think that's it. That's gonna do it for our Power 40 Week 6 college basketball rankings. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you leave a like on it. If you enjoyed, subscribe to the channel if you're new. Turn on the notification bell to make sure you don't miss out on any of our videos. We got college basketball every Monday, college football every Tuesday, NFL every Wednesday, and NBA every Thursday. So we got plenty of content, and yeah, I think that's gonna do it. As always, my Discord and X are linked in the description. You can join that. You can follow that. Whatever you like to do. And I'll see you guys. Actually, I don't know if we're gonna do college football tomorrow. I'm gonna look at something real quick, and I'm going to determine that. So the first bowl game is the 16th. It is currently the 11th. So we will have college football tomorrow, because we're gonna predict all the bowl games except for the playoffs. So yeah, that's gonna do it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed. See you guys tomorrow with college football.